Clemson beat NC State 30-20. This game was not nearly as close as the final score indicated, but boy, for those of us on the over, and that was everyone associated with the Ramen Noodle Express, that last score, that garbage time score from NC State meant something to us. Did you notice the mood start to shift last week around the ACC? I did. I felt it myself. The mood I'm talking about is you see Clemson almost get beat by Wake Forest. Translation, you see Clemson win against Wake Forest, but it was an overtime. And so you're looking around and you're starting to sense that mood of, is this conference wide open? Is this anyone's conference? If we saw what Clemson is on their way to becoming yesterday, no, it's not wide open. And no, it's not anyone's conference. Now, this is not an invincible team, that little orange tiger paw there, but that's the class of this conference still. And after the last couple of weeks, let's make no mistake about that. We're looking at the current odds to win the ACC via Caesar Sportsbook on the screen here. And if you're listening on podcast, Clemson's a minus 160 favorite right now. I still think you would be surprised that the second odds-on favorite to win the ACC, which probably goes to show you how not wide open it is, Miami. It's still Miami at plus 750. Jesse, they play North Carolina this week, I think. So Miami and North Carolina are 2-3, and they're way behind Clemson, but I just wanted to give you an idea. So let's dive into this thing because the game is not hard to figure out. If you watched it, it wasn't difficult to figure out at all. It was as simple as DJ Uiagalelei is just a better quarterback than he was last year. Got some numbers here for you. Last year at this point, after 5 games, he had 3 touchdowns, he had 3 picks. He was a 54% completion guy. This year, 11 touchdowns to 1 interception, 65% completion guy. And it's not like they've massively upgraded talent-wise at the skill positions. Will Shipley's playing very good football, but I mean, look at his wide receiver core. They're I would say a level up from what it was collectively last year, but this is not a bunch of first and second round guys in that receiver room. DJ's just gotten better, and he's taken it upon himself, taking it as a personal challenge. It's something to be really proud of because now that he has improved his game, and it's not just a mirage, it's not fool's gold, you can solidly now start to statistically see, even if you want to have your heart deny it and your eyes deny it, statistically, there's no denying. He's a better player now. And he's outperformed my expectations, so I'm not into, well, actually, I issue apologies sometimes. I don't think an apology is necessary. You know what? Why not? If DJ is watching the show and he took things that were said on this show the wrong way, yeah, let's apologize to him tonight. But let's congratulate him. He's playing really well, really well. And he's outperformed what my expectations would have been for him this year. And as a result, you got to totally recalibrate your thinking on Clemson. I'll talk about that in a second. But yesterday, he was 21 of 30, 209 yards. He ran it 14 times for 73 yards. This is the best defense they're going to play in conference play this year or in the regular season this year. Firmly believe that. No turnovers. It's a huge deal because if you watch the way NC State played them, a lot of zone pressure, I thought that it was going to be an environment for him conducive to maybe a game that gave you pause to buying into the maturation process and the evolution of him as a player. It wasn't. In fact, it was probably a feather in the cap of that ideology. DJ is a much better player this year than he was last year. Padlock stat, very easy to see. It jumps out like a sore thumb from the stat line. 1.6 yards per carry for NC State. If you've ever seen those old Volvo commercials, you know, one of my buddies' mom had a Volvo back in the day, and we always loved to ride in it because they sold the car as being the safest car in the world. It was like a little tank that was presentable on the road, and they would show the crash dummy video, and the Volvo always held up better. But in the end, even the Volvo was just running into a brick wall. NC State was the Volvo last night, and it was worse for wear as a result. I mean, Devin Leary did what he could. That passing game did what they could. There's just not really a lot of functionality when you're running it for less than 2 yards per carry, and that's a major part of your game plan. I can guarantee you, few truths in this uncertain world of ours, but I can promise you NC State did not want to be 2.5 to 1 pass-to-run ratio last night. But that's what they had to be. Interesting time for NC State here. I'll get back to Clemson in a second, but it's a very interesting time for them because this was the game. Make no mistake, they beat them last year. This was the game because it's a very, very veteran-laden roster. They won 9 games last year. The step up for them this year was, let's go beat Clemson and let's go play for the ACC championship. And it's not impossible now, but it's going to be tough for them to get there because Clemson's got a game-and-a-half lead on them, really. This is not the Pac-12. They don't just take the 2 best teams regardless of division, so you got to win your division here still. They've got a tough game this week. They got Florida State. Florida State's in wounded animal mode. And NC State, I'm very interested to see how they respond because they've still got a path to a double-digit win season. They have not done that there since the early 2000s. So there's a lot to play for. You've just got to have yourself wired right mentally. You got to do what Wake Forest was able to do yesterday. You got to bounce back. They make you play 12 of these things. I don't care how much you circle one game. If the schedule says you play again 7 days later, you play 7 days later. They can be a 10-win team. They can still do a lot of things they haven't done in a while around there. I got to adjust the Clemson profile, though. We had them, I think, at 9 or 8 in the JP poll last week. They're better than that. And they're better than that because they're better at quarterback than I thought they were going to be to this point. They're trying to get healthy in the secondary. I don't want to oversell this team. This is not a team to me that is on par with your Ohio States or your Bamas yet. They're not in that classification, although there have been times in the past several years where they have been. That's not where they are yet. So let's responsibly pump the brakes, but let's also give due credit. Trying to get healthy in the secondary. Thought Nate Wiggins played a much better game yesterday. He was one of the players we circled in the preseason. I thought he validated himself quite well last night. Pass pro, still giving them some issues. The passing game, they're not overly dynamic there, but they've been plenty good enough. So this can be a good team, really good team, can be the ACC champion. And if they do that, they're going to the playoffs. So Clemson's got it in them to do a lot of things that they couldn't do last year. Congratulations to Dabo Swinney and the Tigers. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.